Welcome everyone, Sir Heroscape here today, coming at you with another installment of Ranking Heroscape Age of Annihilation. Today we are going to be covering Sergeant Drake Alexander. Just before we do though, again a reminder of the new SirHeroscape.com website, some cool merch, Sir Heroscape merch there that you can check out, one including the shirt or sweatshirt you see here. Also, if you plan on buying Heroscape, again, the affiliate link in the description is a great way to help support the channel if you're already planning on buying. And there are exciting new things coming out constantly, right? I mean, we're getting every 3 months or every 4 months. Anyway, Renegade announcing new stuff. I'm curious to see if that slows down or if that keeps being the case, because we just, constantly getting new designs nonstop, which is really exciting because we're only a couple weeks away now from, again, another announcement. So anyway, that's something to look forward to. Anyway, enough of that. Let's jump into reviewing Sergeant Drake and getting him ranked. So let's start off just by reading. So he's human, unique hero, soldiers, valiant, medium 6, all aligns pretty much with what we've had before. I think he might have been a medium 5 in his first version and second version. I'd have to double check, but anyway, it's not really a huge deal being 5 versus 6, whatever. His life is the same as the second version, so 65163. I believe that stat block is exactly the same. Actually, no, it's not. It's slightly different. Heroscape, Drake, Alexander, let's see, Swarm. Let's double check that, because I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. Let's see, 66164. Oh, okay, wow. Actually, that's, yeah, that stat block's really good. 66164, yeah, that's right. So he was a little bit speedier in the second version with his normal movement and better defense, which 6 life and 4 defense is just so solid. I mean, that's the same as Nilfheim, and Nilfheim is one of the best. Notably, the second version was 170 points, so it was a huge chunk of points to get him in your army. His pistol was nice. It gave you some range ability. Thorian speed is the consistent piece on all of his versions. And then he has some form of grapple arm, grapple gun, or whatever. And in this version, it's actually really interesting because each one of his versions has a different mobility, right? The first version was grapple gun, which allowed him to shoot up straight one space, so it was almost never relevant. It was nice on big castle maps or stuff, but never became relevant. Grapple arm on the second version was really nice because he could jump up to 4 spaces, which was really cool. And I don't think you took disengages either. Oh no, he will. Oh, it says choose engage when he starts. He will take. Okay, so yeah. So he did take disengage, but still, it was super versatile because you could jump up to 4 spaces and be highly mobile, which was pretty neat. And you had a ranged attack, which was just cool too. Gave you some options when you're unable to engage immediately. So, so some things to like about that. Now, what's really cool and what I really like about this third version is he maintains the mobility, but through a much simpler way. They just give him flying. So he has a movement of 5, but his jetpack that he's wearing allows him to, fly anywhere. So his mobility is still on par with the mobility of the second version, but just through different means. He has a jetpack now, which is awesome. 6 attack has been consistent through all 3 versions, which is great. His defense is lowered this time around, which I found interesting. I'm not exactly sure. I think that's more of a balance thing. It's the precedent is there. His first version was 3 defense, so really there's not a huge issue with it dropping back down to 3. I think for the most part it was just a balance thing. Keeping him at that defense would have made him really good, and his points would have to be increased. Because sometimes the stat block alone just requires you to be at a certain level of pricing. So overall his stat block's really good. The thing most impressive about this design, I think, is that it makes him a reasonable option by doing 135 points. 110 on his first version wasn't it's not horrible, but 110 for what it gave you was just not very good. It was a single attack unit that wasn't very mobile. 5 life, 3 defense, and so you could kind of chew through it decently quickly. And so it was kind of like, not great. Felt a little bit like he was too much points. And then they jumped all the way up to the second version, which was 170, and so you were really eating into your whole army aspect of drafting him. But you got quite a bit of, good stats and versatility. So, it felt okay, but then when he didn't go in solo armies, you kind of were like, well, why'd I get him anyway, right? Because 170 was just a lot, and he still remained a single attack unit. And single attack heroes and units in general just have a difficult time matching attack and turn activation output when you compare it to like squad activation. So the second version, while cool, was limited to some kind of more obscure formats. Now, this really hits the sweet spot, in my opinion, because 135 points is kind of at that point range where between 120 and 150, that's really where you want kind of your shark units, your units that are going to carry their weight and fill their points. That's the sweet spot. So 135 kind of fits right in that window where you feel like, okay, like I'm not spending too much on him. And for what I am spending, I'm getting some decent value just off of the stat block. Now, he maintains Thorian speed, so a flying unit with that mobility, Thorian speed, that alone and his stat block is quite good. So now you add in the Grapple Grab 8, and it's a really good design, which I think has a ton of potential. Because when you're looking at it, you realize, man, his mobility just went through the roof, what he can actually pull off in a turn. Because if you think about it, the first version, you couldn't really get to anyone. They could outpace you and leave you in the dust, and so you couldn't really do much. The second version, you could, do your ability of, you could move 6, which isn't bad, and then shoot from 5 spaces away, so your threat range was 11, not bad. Also, you could do your jump of 4 spaces with grapple arm and then shoot for 5 spaces away, so threat range 9. But the pistol, you didn't really expect that to do much, and, again, it was just kind of a, hey, take a ping shot, right? This version actually makes the threat range very, very significant, because what it's doing is it's pulling in a unit from 4 spaces away, which is a farther range than any chain ability that exists up to this point. So chain grab from both the Wraith Riders and chain grab from the Drow Chain Fighter are both 3 spaces. And so that's been the consistently designed ability. But now you have a hero with a base attack of 6, and he can pull small and medium units in from 4 spaces away. That is incredibly powerful. Now, again, his movement's only 5, so you would say, well, his threat range is only 9. That's, you can work around that. Yes and no. You have to remember with flying that flying actually gives you an effective range of much higher than a normal figure. Because generally speaking, especially if you're in start zones with, that are decently low, if the map is, we'll just say 3 or 4 levels high at its highest point, you typically have to traverse 2 or 3 levels to kind of work your way to the middle or work your way to kind of the flat plateaus throughout the middle of the map. And so his effective movement is actually more like 7 or 8 in that first movement. And so you can actually get a lot more out of him in the first 1 or 2 turns with threat range, because he can fly for 5 and then grapple for 4. And so if you've done any type of unit like Raylan, or maybe there's a key hero and you've kind of strung him out a little bit too far, or you're not careful, I mean, he can slide in, fly, grapple arm, boom. And again, it's an 8 or higher. Pretty dang good chances that you're pulling him in. And you can effectively pull the person in 6 spaces. Because if you think about it, I'm here, I'm Drake, and if I'm targeting you here 4 spaces away, if I grapple arm you, I can now move you to the opposite side of my person, which would be 4 spaces to my actual person. So, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then, or maybe it's 5 effective spaces. Anyway, you get the point. Is you're effectively moving them farther than, 1 space farther than you had grabbed them from. And so that's what makes that ability actually so good, is you can pull in key heroes or figures, or you can stand back and treat it like a ranged attack, where maybe you're hiding behind a ruin, or there's an obstacle, or there's a river of water and you grapple them from the other side of the river or something. I don't know. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you can effectively force your opponent to come to you because they don't want to keep getting, you know, grapple armed. And so, again, once you grapple it, you're punching it for 6, which, again, is just great. But, you know, the effectiveness of this ability isn't so much that you get to hit it for 6, it's that you're just repositioning units. Repositioning units in Heroscape is incredibly valuable. So I think Sergeant Drake Alexander is in a really, really good spot in his 3rd version. I think he's absolutely draftable in a lot of formats. In your normal cheese, not so much, but absolutely in draft formats, absolutely in low figure count or hero formats. I think he definitely has a place. And so, yeah, no, highly recommend him. So now we come to ranking. In terms of ranking, personally, I'm going to give him a B+. Now, I think he overall probably sits at a B, just because he's still going to suffer from the natural effects of, you know, fighting against squads and bonding and stuff with synergy. Right now, he doesn't have bonding or synergy, right, in contemporary, let alone in, you know, in your normal classic full all-time formats. I mean, he has some light synergies, but they're not like great or amazing. And so for the most part, he's going to maintain a B in most cases, right? So he's still a bit format dependent, but I also feel like he's edging that B+, and I am going to keep him at a B+, because I think you're going to generally get his points worth. I think you're going to be able to, if you sequence him correctly, use him as a shark in the mid game to go target a key figure, pull them in, smash them, and use him as that threat that can kind of run around and assassinate key units, heroes, or just mess with the opponent's position. And so I think there's definitely a place for him at 135 points in a lot of armies that, you know, maybe fill out a bunch of squads, and then he's kind of your, you know, end game filler or your mid game shark. I do feel like he warrants a B+ overall, though. Again, like to my point, I think as, you know, time continues to go on, he'll probably sit at around a B, which again isn't a bad thing. It just means that he's, you know, a strong mid-level tier unit. He's not your auto draft, always going to give you the best of the best. You know, but you know, a solid performance consistently, which I think is a B to that B+ range. So that's my ranking for Sergeant Drake Alexander. Let me know what you thought. Keep in mind there are some fun little soldier synergies with like Marcus Decimus Gallus. You know, he's valiant, so you know the 4th Massachusetts line. You know, they're soft synergies. They're not like crazy amazing, but it is kind of cool little things that you can do in terms of army building. And so something to note there. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.